BJB fan. When I blew from the Sea Org after 13 years, I went through a long period afraid to let anyone know of my connection to Scientology. I felt embarrassed about that and lied on my job applications about my job history. Through the years, I got used to thinking and speaking without all the habitual Scientology words and phrases, but there are a few I never came up with good enough English words for, such as DevT and surfac. Could you pass on your replacements for these and other Scientology words, please? Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to take this up because it was a good time for a little reminder out there that the language of Scientology is itself part of the control structure of Scientology. Specialized language always works this way, but in an authoritarian system like Scientology, it works in a very negative way. By this I mean, we all have specialty language in lots of different professions or areas of activity. And generally, there's nothing wrong with that. You're building, sort of neural pathways in the brain by using language, and it gets you thinking in certain ways. It's kind of like muscle memory in martial arts, right? You have muscle memory. Well, you have brain muscle memory where you're constantly reusing the language, and so the same thought processes are occurring. And the more you use specialized language like that, the more ready you are to be thinking that way, and the harder it is to think outside those ways. So this is why language can become a tool of an authoritarian to literally engage in a form of mind control through language. By redefining terms through propaganda and by using those terms over and over and over again, you can get people to think the way you want them to and make it very, very hard for them to think any other way. With that all being said, this is why when people come out of Scientology, we encourage them to stop using the language and start using other language and other words and stretch your brain and make it, hurt and work a little bit to go beyond that language, because what it does is it literally starts rewriting neural pathways. So at least that's how I understand the science of it. And I'm, of course, heavily simplifying all of this. But this is what I understand is one of the very, very important aspects of language. So with Scientology terminology, there are 2 dictionaries that are this thick, full of Scientology words and expressions. There's a lot to unlearn when you come out of Scientology. Some of the language is super specialized. Some of it is regular English words that have been redefined in a new way. For example, the word engram in Dianetics. An engram is a medical term. It actually comes from cellular, anyway, it's a cellular term. I forgot the science word for study of cells. Anyway, I'm sure I'll get 5 comments now reminding me what it is. Thanks, guys. Anyway, that's where that word comes from. It's like a memory trace on a cell, is what Hubbard said it originally meant. And it was usurped by him to mean an incident of pain and unconsciousness and trauma in your past. And so with Dianetics, you run out engrams. Okay, so as far as alternative language for these things, I mean, as far as I've already changed over the words N theta, mental mass, engrams. I put all of that under stress and trauma. Those are the English equivalents of those terms that make the most sense to people. For an ARC break, I call that an upset, or like an argument or an upset. And for now for the words you just came up with though, DevT and surfac, those are the tougher ones. DevT is a term in Scientology for developed traffic. It's an administrative term, not a term having to do with the mind. It's one of Hubbard's policy words. In the day-to-day course of affairs in any business or organization, you have traffic, you have communication flying around the organization, verbally, in writing, through emails or whatever. This is called traffic. And when something occurs that is irregular, unpredicted, random, you will tend to develop more traffic around how to deal with that thing. And so DevT has become a term in Scientology for random, unnecessary, cluttered traffic that is taking up people's time that really doesn't belong there or doesn't need to be there. It's a waste of time. It's annoying. It's not useful. It's not productive. Okay, that's DevT. If somebody brings you a dispatch, let's say, like you're a junior and you have a senior, and you walk a dispatch to the senior to make sure he gets it because you want him to see it right away because it's time sensitive or something. Well, you're bringing your body to him and you're bringing this piece of paper to him, and he's going to go, well, this is DevT. I don't need your body in front of me. I just need the dispatch to come. And it should have come without having to be so time sensitive or be such an emergency rush situation. It should have just come on the regular traffic flows. Dispatches get routed around an organization every day. So the senior would feel like this person is DevTing him. Okay, he's bringing him developed traffic. I hope I'm communicating this well. So basically, the regular English word for this would be stop bothering me. This is confusing. This is unnecessary. Developed traffic is just, it's random nonsense. Would be another word for it, right? As far as surfac, okay. So a service facsimile, a facsimile is a mental image picture, okay? And it's called a service facsimile because it services the person. And how it services me is like this. It makes me right, and it makes you wrong. That's what a service facsimile is. It's a mental image picture of something that happened that I can use to make myself feel better because I'm right and you're wrong. And I'm right because you're wrong. That's part of the package. And it generally is used to justify or rationalize some disability that I have. It's an effort for me to get you to sympathize with me because of my disability, and therefore I'm right. I have this disability, so I'm right. I'm a victim, and I'm right. And you're somehow either persecuting me or pushing me in some direction I don't want to go. And so I'm going to use this disability against you to make you wrong for what you're doing to me. Okay? Here's the classic example of this, and it'll make it clearer. A little kid doesn't want to go to school. So he invents being sick. He makes it up. And this is now this picture that he has of a sickness, right? He's been sick in the past. He's got pictures of being sick, or he's had an illness or injury of some kind, and he takes that picture and he brings it up to present time out of his mind, right? And he uses the feelings and thoughts and attitudes and emotions of that picture, that memory, to now make it seem as though he is sick. And he will act sick, and he will think he is even sick. I mean, he really puts it there. And mom comes along and says, you need to go to school. And he goes, I ain't going to school. I'm sick. And she goes, no, you're going to school. See, the service facsimile is not working. He's trying to use this thing. He's trying to show, hey, I'm sick. I can't go. Oh, poor is me. Woe is me. And his mom's not buying it. She's going, I don't care. You're going to school, And he goes, no, I'm so sick. You don't understand. And he starts pouting. He starts getting really upset. And maybe he starts crying. And he starts really making out how sick he is to the point that he can even actually get sick. Right? There's this hysterical illness or sickness. I mean, we know about this. This happens. So the kid, keeps making mom wrong by being sick and trying to get her sympathy, you see, for his sickness or his illness or his injury. Maybe he's got a broken arm or something. I mean, it doesn't have to be a sickness. It could be some other physical or mental or emotional disability. And he's trying to sponge sympathy from other people for this thing, you see. And to the degree that it works and he gets that sympathy, he'll keep using it. He'll keep doing it. So he gets sick, he gets home, stay home from school, okay, fine, then he gets better and he goes back to school and lives his life. But then a year later or 2 years later or whatever, he has got some big final coming and he's really freaked out about it. He's not prepared, he didn't study, he didn't do his homework, and he wants to stay home and avoid it, so he gets sick again. But this time, he's pulling up that service facsimile, that picture from the last time he was sick, and he's making himself sick again, and his mom's like, oh, God. And again, they have the battle, and if she doesn't sympathize with him and make him feel like he, deserves the sympathy and deserves to stay home, he'll keep plugging on it. He'll keep just, no, I'm so sick, I can't go, rah, rah, rah. And now at this point, he's probably forgotten all about what happened a year or two ago. And it's not a conscious thing, you see. It's sort of a subconscious thing. That's another part of this picture. So all of this package, all put together with some other things too, but basically this package I just explained is called a service facsimile. It's a concept Hubbard invented to explain this kind of behavior. And clearly this would be non-optimum behavior on the part of anybody. I mean, giving themselves a disability in order to rationalize or justify inaction or an inability to do something, and then getting sympathy from other people and making them wrong if they don't help you out or sympathize with you. I mean, there's a whole thing there, right? And I don't really have a single word that encapsulates this entire concept. I never have come up with one in all the years that I've been out of Scientology. I've continued to call it a surfac or a service facsimile. But I don't know that, that this is actually a thing either. I think that this is an amalgamation of things that go on with people. Because you have psychosomatic illness here, you have actual trauma and disability here, you have pleas for sympathy and relationship issues here. I mean, there's a lot going on. So I think it probably oversimplifies the entire matter to just say, oh, it's just a surfac. And in Scientology, how this gets used is it tends to be used to make people wrong. So here is a person who's truly got, not trying to evoke sympathy out of somebody. He's just sick, he's just, I'm just sick today, I'm just not feeling good. Or he's got some problem, he hurt himself on the job, let's say. Okay, like let's, for example, say when I was on the RPF, I broke my finger. And I was told the first night that I broke my finger, I was in more pain than I had ever been in my entire life because I had never broken a bone before. I did not have any earlier example of how it feels to do that, and it's extremely painful, even if it's just a hairline fracture of your finger, which is what happened to me. And I was told, stop surfacking. Because I was, saying, hey, man, I'm in a lot of pain here. I can't work. I need to go take care of this. No, you're just surfacking is what I was told, right? So you can run this on somebody who's not actually doing anything wrong also. And that's the kind of slang terminology usage of this in Scientology is, oh, he's just surfacking, means he's just trying to be right. And you can encapsulate it down to that if you're using it that way. If you're just using it in that slangy way of, just showing that somebody is just trying to make some stupid bid for sympathy, and there's really nothing wrong with them, then you could say, oh, he's just trying to be right. He's just trying to, he always has to be right. I always has to make me wrong. Always has to make me wrong, right? So you could encapsulate it that way. But otherwise, I don't know any other words for that. But again, if any of you guys out there have any ideas on that, go ahead and throw them in my way in the comments. I'd be curious to see what other ways of thinking about this there might be out there.